Hey guys, in this video we'll be looking at how to set up an object so that it can rotate and move around using the mouse in Unity. What you'll notice for this scene is that I've got pretty much what I've had for the last few videos, except I've added a third-person controller to be able to walk around the level and view the object that I'm rotating from different angles without needing to move the mouse to do so. So I can move the object using the mouse and walk around the level using my directional keys, W, A, S, D, or the arrow keys. The object that we'll be rotating is this one, this cube that I've placed up here. And what you need to do this is to create a JavaScript file or a C# script. For this video I decided to make a JavaScript file because that's a bit easier for people to wrap their heads around. C#'s a bit of a tricky language for newbies at times. So what I'll do is I'll go to the Project tab, click Create, and then click JavaScript. And you'll see a new script will pop up with its name selected for you to type in whatever you want as the name. We'll call it something sensible so we know what it is later on. We'll just call it rotate object with mouse. And what we do to access the script is we double click it in the project tab, and then a window will pop up. It can sometimes take a little while to pop up depending on how fast your computer is at accessing certain things, and we'll see a totally empty script here. Now what I've done is I've prepared a script that you saw flash briefly at the beginning of the tutorial. I've prepared a script here that I can just simply dump over into this other script. I'll be making this script available online as well, so you don't need to worry about copying the entire thing from the video. That would be a little bit pointless and a waste of time. So what you'll notice as well, this part of the video will be, I guess, aimed at people who are at least a little bit familiar with programming. I mean, if you're keen and you don't know much about programming, try to listen through it. But there's a chance that I'm going to be using some concepts and terminology that you need to be reasonably familiar with in order to wrap your head around how this will actually run in Unity. So the first thing to notice is that we've defined a start function, which makes sure we use this start function in Unity, which is a predefined function. We use it to check any variables and make sure our object, our script, is set up with valid values for its variables so that it doesn't crash when we try to run it. So the important variable in this script here is the camera. Where the camera is pointing from is very important for being able to rotate an object in a way that feels sensible. So we use this function here just to make sure that we've got a valid value for the reference camera. And if we can't give it a valid value, we tell the user using debug.logError, which just gives the user a little message that says, hey, we couldn't find the camera, please make one. Now what will actually be doing the bulk of the work for this script is contained in this update function, which is another predefined function in Unity that is called once every single frame that is drawn to the screen. So if your game's running at 50 frames per second, this will be called 50 times per second once per frame, like I said. So you use this function to control things that are going to be happening potentially constantly. So in this case, the user could be constantly moving the mouse, which would be constantly rotating the object. So we want to be able to constantly update the rotation of the object. Now, how we read the mouse's movement is we use this function here called input.getAxis. GetAxis refers to the mouse itself, and then you type in as a string mouse x and mouse y to get how far the mouse has moved in that one frame since the previous frame, how far the mouse has moved. And then we multiplied it by a value to scale up how fast we're rotating, or scale down if it's rotating too fast. And then what we do is we rotate the object around one axis and then around another axis, just to let the Unity engine know, how we want to turn it around. There are some functions that let you rotate an object all in one go, like transform.rotate, and then you can pass in an X, Y, and Z for rotation. But for this, it lets you control it a little bit easier if you rotate it around a given axis one at a time. It's a little bit easier to figure out if something's going wrong and where it's going wrong. Whereas if you're doing it all at once, it can be a little bit confusing. So now we've created this script, we've saved it in our project here. By the way, you need to hit Control S to save in this editor. And now it's saved, it'll update. Whenever you save, by the way, a little thinking icon will appear down in the bottom right of the Unity window, and when that disappears, all the scripts have finished compiling. So what we can do now to make this object rotate is to select it, and as before, click and drag the script from the Project tab over to the Inspector tab and let go. And now, like we needed to do for the third-person controller in the character controller tutorial, is to assign a value to what the camera is. So we'll go over to the Hierarchy tab and look for our main camera, which for me is this camera here. So I'll click and drag that over the variable reference camera and let go. So if I hit play, I'll be able to walk around the level using this character controller. As I said, the camera's going to rotate around behind him and everything. But then now I can also move the mouse up and down and left and right to rotate this object. And if I think it's moving a bit too fast, I can stop the script and then change the sensitivity X and sensitivity Y of this script. So a lower value means that it rotates more slowly. And as you get closer to 0, it'll rotate more and more slowly. If you go negative, by the way, it'll start rotating faster and faster the further away you get from 0. So just try to lower that value here. About 4 seems to be a nice, easy way of rotating an object slowly, and there we go. So you can pretend that this is a character that's picked up an object and is looking at it, or something along those lines, if you want to be able to rotate around it and inspect it from different angles.